I'm Canadian. And I'm uploading my records of strange things I've seen living in the Canadian wilderness. See, I live out in the wilderness of the Boreal Forest. During my time out here I've encountered many a strange creature. Here's what happened the first time I ever encountered an anomaly. It was a cold Saturday evening. I had just moved into my new cabin in the middle of nowhere, and I was looking forward to spending my first night in peace and quiet. I curled up on my favorite new recliner with a blanket and a sitcom on the TV when I heard a knock at my front door. Now, this was jarring, as nobody should be out this far. For those who don't know, when it's cold, there is an unspoken rule that if you own a cabin, you offer shelter to those in need. Thinking that somebody may be in trouble, I hurried over to the door and threw it open, expecting there to be a person on the other side. When the door opened, I was greeted by nothing but the snowy landscape of my front yard. No person. Shaking my head, thinking it was just my imagination, I closed and locked my door and returned to my spot on the chair. A short while later, I hear a knock on my back door. This time, I grabbed my trusty baseball bat, I named her Shotgun, don't ask, and ran to the back door, violently swinging it open, ready to fight. Though, yet again, I was met by only the white expanse of the winter forest. Grumbling to myself, I could have sworn I returned Shotgun to her perch by the front door and retreated to my chair, embarrassed at myself for being so jumpy. Just then, all of the heat seemed to get sucked out of my home, my breath clung to the air, and I shivered. I have a small coal stoker outside. Figuring it must have run out of coal, I got on my coat and boots, grabbed Shotgun and headed outside. You might be asking yourself, why did he grab Shotgun to refill the coal stoker? And the reason for that would be that I was scared whoever was pranking me was still out there. As I strode towards the back door, Shotgun in hand, I shivered in the coldness of the Canadian night. I whipped the door open and peered, warily, around the stillness. It's fucking cold out here, I mumbled as I stepped out into the snow. I traced my steps in the snow around to the side of the house to the coal stoker. That's when I heard the sound of a moose call. Now, it's not uncommon to hear animal noises in the forest, but this was different. There was something guttural about the call, not natural at all. It froze me in my tracks and my grip on Shotgun tightened even further. I'm no fighter, but I knew how to defend myself if I needed to, so I wasn't terribly worried. Just then, I felt a heat on the back of my neck. Usually, at this point someone would say my blood ran cold, but honestly, mine didn't. When you are used to the wilderness, you know how to react when a predatory animal has you cornered. As such, I froze on the spot and slowly stepped forward and turned around, very slowly. I was suddenly face to face with what can only be described as a bear moose. It had a massive rack of antlers atop its moose-ish head and the gigantic body of an overgrown grizzly bear. Before I had a chance to take in the, frankly, shocking sight, the bear moose, which I'm just going to call Angela because I can't, reared up, raised its head to the sky, and let out a scream into the quiet night air. I can only describe the sound as a mixture between a moose call and a baby on crack. The sound was so loud I felt my ears pop, and a little bit of blood froze to my earlobe in the cold. Before Angela could finish screaming like a bear moose banshee, I brought Shotgun down onto its head like a lightning strike. Angela stopped mid-scream and looked at me with an expression that looked almost like betrayal before thumping back down onto all fours and cocking its head at me. As if to ask, did you just hit me? Which, in fact, I did. And I told Angela as such. Yeah. That's right. I hit you with a glorified stick. How does that make you feel? Stupid bear moose. I gave it another bop on the head, and it shook its head violently and emitted a noise that sounded like a newborn baby cry and ran into the woods on its hind legs. If I had to describe the encounter, the only thing I could say is it was strange. Continuing what I came out here to do, I continued my journey to the coal stoker and refilled the hopper. After returning to my chair and putting Shotgun back near the door, I was drifting off to sleep when I heard Angela howling in the distance. Putting the odd night into the back of my mind, I allowed myself to drift off to sleep.